Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bark Tank. All right. First ever big event celebrating the Leonsis Family Entrepreneurship Prize. We're thrilled to have everyone here. My name is Jeff Reed. I'm the founding director of the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Initiative, which means I have the greatest job in the world. I get to help build an entrepreneurial community here at Georgetown, and that's really our vision. It's to create a culture of entrepreneurship in which every single student at this university learns something about entrepreneurship, learns how to pursue their own entrepreneurial dreams. We're building that culture. We're building it with a community. We're thrilled to have all of you here. For the rest of the night's event, you're going to be guided by one of our wonderful student entrepreneurs, former student entrepreneurs, now alum entrepreneur, class of 2016 from the School of Foreign Service, co-founder of Misfit Juicery, and one of the first recipients of the Leonsis Prize. So with that, before I call up Ann Yang, we're going to get to know a little bit about Ann Yang through a short video we'd like to share with all of you. Thank you. Every year, Georgetown students who have launched new businesses enter the Bark Tank to compete for a piece of a $100,000 Leonsis Family Entrepreneurship Prize. In 2016, Ann Yang and Phil Wong took home the top prize, which gave them an opportunity to grow their startup, Misfit Juicery, and fight food waste. Let's catch up with them to see where they are now.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Ann, and we are the co-founders of Misfit Juicery.
At Misfit, we're on a larger mission to fight food waste by creating delicious products from supply chain inefficiencies.
Every year in the United States, 20 billion pounds of fruits and vegetables go unharvested or unsold, and it's perfectly good to eat. It just might be the wrong size, shape, or color to be sold at grocery stores. So we purchase those ugly fruits and vegetables and scrap waste, and we turn it into delicious products to fight food waste. And the first of those products is a line of cold-pressed juices. When we applied for the Leonsis Prize, we were still a very early stage company. They asked us what we were going to do with the money, and we said that we were going to buy a second juicer to increase our production capacity.
With the money, we were able to scale up our production with that second machine, but even further than that, right? So now we're at the point where we can't even do our own manufacturing. We need a partner who has machinery much bigger than ours.
As entrepreneurs, you just don't know what you don't know. And I think that without Leonsis Prize and the mentorship that's come with the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Program, we wouldn't have been able to identify that the problem we were looking at or the resources that we thought we needed was actually something completely different.
The first real business that I started in 1981, I put on my American Express card. I then went out and raised some venture capital, and the company grew really, really fast, and I sold it for $60 million 3 years later. As an entrepreneur, I saw how a small amount of money on a credit card really was enough to be able to get a business plan, a product launched. I view this as money that creates optionality for an entrepreneur and a student.
We went through a rebrand and completely changed our packaging, and then we expanded our distribution up and down the East Coast and started partnering with real partners in the food industry.
We also added to the team, so we now have 2 full-time employees, one in DC and one in New York, and a bunch of other field sales representatives who are doing our demo work in New York and DC.
I think the prize really starts by having an entrepreneur look a funder in the eye and show their passion and their commitment to an idea. And so anything that we can help to push along with all of the great people within the university, we think is very meaningful to the community at Georgetown and Washington, D.C.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct honor to be emceeing the Leonsis Prize pitch competition tonight. As was explained in this video, Georgetown is a really special place to be an entrepreneur. For me and my personal journey as an entrepreneur, having a school that taught me about social justice and then taught me about how to be an amazing business person that made the right choices with that social justice framework in terms of what is best for my employees, my partners, my customers was really transformative for me as a student and and gave me the bravery to pursue entrepreneurship full time. And it's definitely something that I couldn't have done without the support of the Leonsis Prize or the Georgetown Initiative. To kick off the night, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process, about what you're going to witness. So we had 30 amazing startups nominated by entrepreneurs and residents and other faculty members apply for this process. From those 30 startups, we narrowed it down to 8 amazing startups, which you're about to meet tonight. They are going to have 3 minutes to pitch and 5 minutes of Q&A. And you guys are in the room for a very important reason. There is a People's Choice Award tonight. So not only is it important for you guys to pay attention to the pitches, just to support them emotionally and as their friends and colleagues, but also because you are evaluating who you think is the best pitch. At the end of this process, we'll have very clear instructions on how you guys can vote, but pay attention for who your favorites are. And then now I'm really excited to introduce our amazing panel of 5 judges. As I introduce you, if you could wave, smile, that would be awesome. Our first judge is Jenny Abramson. She is a entrepreneur in residence, and she continues to mentor students at Georgetown in our program all the time. And she also is the amazing founder of a VC called Rethink Impact, which is specifically focused on investing in female entrepreneurs who are using technology to innovate in a variety of verticals. And it's really amazing to have an advocate like Jenny in the space for female founders. Next, we have Mark Ein. He is one of DC's most prominent entrepreneurs and business leaders. Just last week, he acquired the Washington City paper, and it's an important part of DC's startup ecosystem, and we're really glad to have him here. Third, we have Michelle Freeman. She is the member of the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Advisory Group. She is also a proud Hoya parent. Nick Freeman is here, who graduated in 2013. He should be somewhere in the audience. And she is an important mentor and advocate for philanthropy with a specific focus on social entrepreneurship, and we're really glad to have her here. Fourth, we have Ted Leonsis. You guys already met him through the amazing video. Him and his family are the huge reason why this prize exists. He is the chair of the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Advisory Group, and he's a huge proponent of entrepreneurship at Georgetown for a long time. I think at this school, him and his family are a huge reason why I began the entrepreneurship journey and why there's this ecosystem for you guys now. Was also a senior executive at AOL and is the majority owner of a lot of beloved sports teams in the DMV area, like the Capitals. And then finally, we have Zach Leonsis, who is the vice president and leader of Monumental Sports Group. And he, first of all, was an MBA at Georgetown, a recent graduate, so another Hoya alum. And with his expertise and his training, he is now leading efforts at Monumental Sports Group to use new technologies and new innovations to bring their group to the next level, new digital strategies, and new ways to think about how we do sports and entertainment. So that is our panel of 5 all-star judges, and I'm really excited to pass the mic to our first presenter, which is Campus Sherpa. Please give a warm welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Patu. I'm a senior undergraduate in the college studying philosophy, and I'm the founder and CEO of Campus Sherpa, a company that for the past 3 years has connected high school students to college students for personalized college tours. When I was in high school, I traveled from California to the East Coast to visit colleges, and I found my tours really unhelpful. I was one in a group of 30 students following a tour guide walking backwards, hearing at each visit how that school was perfect for me. After visiting 12 or so schools, I found it nearly impossible to distinguish what made each school different and where I would best fit in. I thought others might have this problem too, so I founded Campus Sherpa. We connect high school students to college students based on similar academic interests. Our tours speak to the uniqueness of each student and get beyond the scripted pitch of the universities. As it turns out, others did have this problem because 3 years later, we've had a lot of success. We've earned over $50,000 in revenue. We've given over 800 tours at 160 campuses around the country, and we have over 1,700 Sherpa guides in our database. We also figured out that college counselors could act as distributors for our service, and we've partnered with over 100 of them in 7 countries. But we also have a lot of room to grow. We estimate the market to be just under $1 billion, and we aim to capture 1% of it. Right now, someone comes to our website and they tell us what they're interested in, and we find them a Sherpa who matches that. But what we want to do is become a centralized hub for all college-related information. Right now, there are 2 challenges that we need to address in order to scale. The first challenge is that we need to be able to match for the best possible Sherpa, which means for matching for things beyond just academic interest. The second challenge is that we need to build out the content on our platform so that we have more to attract potential customers to our site. We're already up and running, but our challenge is scale, which is why I'm here. I'm ready to bring the business to the next level. We can solve these challenges if we make our platform look like this. Someone would tell us that they're coming to Georgetown, and then we'll show them all of their options assembled in the order of the things that they've told us they care about, so academic interest, activities, hometown, gender, etc. By making the Sherpa profiles public like this, it would also mean that we would have a lot more content to attract customers to our site. They'll be able to browse Sherpa profiles, reviews, sample itineraries, and even blog posts and photos that the Sherpas upload. We'll be combining the models of Airbnb, Match.com, and Yelp to create a community of information exchange for students by students. With $35,000, we'd be able to hire a developer for this project and put ourselves on the way to becoming that centralized hub for all college-related information. I founded Campus Sherpa during my freshman year at Georgetown, and I have an amazing team of Georgetown students who cover operations, marketing, social media, and recruiting. I also have some fantastic advisors from in and outside of the industry who help me with my strategy for the company. We've had a lot of trial and error over the years, and I've gained expertise by familiarizing myself with the relevant ins and outs of the industry. Campus Sherpa is a validated business. With the prize money, we'll be able to bring Campus Sherpa to the next level of explosive growth. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do colleges and universities look at this as a complementary service, or is there any competition with some of the services they already offer?
So I guess we very much see ourselves as a complementary service. We think that the official tour will tell you a lot of really important information about the schools that an official trained guide needs to be able to provide. But Campus Sherpa will show you what is the school actually like for someone like you. So getting beyond just the official tour. But to get directly to your question, schools have a variety of responses to us. Some of them love us, some of them love us a little bit less. But we haven't had any major problems so far with our relationships with universities.
It's the waterfall on the money flow. What do you get? What does the student guide get? And does the school get any money?
He cuts right to the chase, by the way, as you can tell.
Sorry?
He cuts right to the chase. If you
There we go. So we have a range of different tour lengths, depending on how long they want to spend on campus. Our cheapest on-campus option is $60 for 45 minutes, of which $15 goes to the Sherpa, and the rest is for the company. So the school does not take a cut from the company.
How are you thinking about access and thinking about low-income students versus wealthier students and price points? And do you vary it based on that, or how do you think about that piece?
A great question. So right now we don't vary our prices. Part of the reason we price as we do is that we've bootstrapped the entire thing. We haven't gone out to raise any funding, and so we need to be able to cover all of our costs and also reinvest in the business in order to expand. In the long term, I don't think that this should just be a tool for the wealthy students. I think this should be a tool for all students applying to college, because I think it's important that all high school students have the best possible information when they're making the decision about where to go to college. Our long-term plan is to be able to take our profit margin and set aside money for low-income students and be able to vary our pricing like that. Our shorter-term solution is that we do also offer a Skype visit for students who either aren't able to make it to campus or they want a refresher, and that's $35 for 30 minutes. So it's a bit more of an affordable option for students who want to take advantage of it before the scholarship becomes available. But that's certainly in our long-term vision.
And is there science behind the match, David? I mean, how are you matching a student to a Sherpa?
Yeah, another great question. So that's one of the things that we want to use the prize money for. So right now, it's a very simple algorithm that just matches people based on academic interest. What we want to build is much more of a, as you said, like a science behind the matching, so that we're taking all of someone's preferences and we're matching them to the best possible Sherpa for them. So that might not be for academic interest. That could be like a non-Catholic student, for instance, visiting Georgetown, or an East Coast student visiting a school in California who wants to know that perspective. Infinitely different combinations, and we want to be able to match for all of those.
Mm-hmm. Ted asked the question I was going to get to, which is the flow of funds. But let's talk about how you're going to scale this. How many kids go to colleges each year?
It's around 3.35 million students go to four-year institutions each year.
And how did you get to the $10 million target revenue? And over what time frame?
So we want to do that in the next year within winning the prize money, hopefully, and building out this, this next level of service. The reason behind that thinking is that there's currently around 7,000 college counselors in the U.S. So these are private college counselors who high school students will hire to help with SAT services, tutoring, et cetera. So if there's 7,000 of those people, and let's say each one of them has an average of 10 students, if we can capture roughly half of that, so 35,000, but works out to 38,000, with our average tour price of $87, that takes us to the $10 million in revenue. So that's how we got to that number.
Okay. I thought you said it was $60.
Sorry, $60 is our lowest tour option, but we have higher tour options. So our next one is 2 hours for $115, and there's a roughly 50-50 split between the 45-minute option and the 2-hour option.
And is there anything other than your technology that you need to scale to that point?
Ideally, we'd also put some money, if there's leftover after the development, into further customer acquisition. So we haven't done anything in the way of online advertisement. Right now, all of our growth has been from word of mouth. So our assumption is that once we actually start putting more funds into other sorts of customer acquisition models, that we'll be able to help boost our scalability that way as well.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Class Pulse.
Hello, everyone. I want to start by asking all of you a question. Have you ever been asked to complete a survey on a service, but couldn't be bothered because you knew you weren't going to use that service again? Well, I see a lot of you nodding. Well, this happens in college all the time. Every semester, once classes are over, students are asked to evaluate professors they're probably never going to see again. As you can imagine, the completion rate for these surveys is low. Over 60% of students don't fill these out. And the students who do fill them out leave very generic feedback that sounds something like this: worst professor ever, or awesome guy. Well, this kind of feedback does not help professors at all. In order for feedback to be useful, it has to be timely, it has to be specific, and it has to be actionable. After a particularly frustrating classroom experience, I decided to look at the market, and I realized there's actually nothing out there that helps professors gather this kind of feedback. So I decided to build it myself. I put together a mobile app called ClassPulse that allows students to share actionable feedback with their professors throughout the semester. I beta tested ClassPulse here at Georgetown with 500 students, and it worked. Students felt comfortable sharing feedback because it was anonymous, and were incentivized to do so because they could actually benefit from the adjustments. We not only helped professors do their jobs more effectively, but also helped students make the most out of their learning experience. A couple months into the beta test, the Chronicle of Higher Education picked up my story and published a piece on the inefficiency of course evaluations, mentioning ClassPulse as a solution. Within the first 2 hours of the article being published, hundreds of emails from all over the country flooded my mailbox from people asking to use ClassPulse. These emails were primarily from adjunct professors. This makes a lot of sense. Adjuncts, unlike tenured professors, are exclusively evaluated based on their teaching, and sadly, right now, have no way to improve it. The enthusiasm for ClassPulse was so overwhelmingly high that now, only 2 weeks since we've launched, we have professors from over 50 schools using our product. We've learned a couple things from our users. The first is that they want a way to analyze and store the feedback they receive. The second is that over 30% of them are willing to pay for this. And actually, some of them are already paying us for this. We listened to our customers, and we decided to create ClassPulse Premium. ClassPulse Premium is ClassPulse with an analytics component. We make feedback smarter and easier to consume. We currently make these dashboards manually, but of course, crunching all this data manually is not scalable. So let's look at the market. There are 1 million adjuncts in the US. We believe we can reach at least 3% of these, which means that at our current price of $50 per semester, we can generate $3 million in annual revenue. Tonight, we're asking for $30,000 so we can automate the analytics and scale to meet our market's demand. With your help, we can shape the future of learning. Thank you. And I'm welcoming any questions. And my sister is right there. She's my co-founder, and she'll be joining us for questions.
Who's the customer again, and why do they pay you, and then do they pay you personally, or is it a school function that they get paid back?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our direct customers are adjunct professors as of now. I mean, any professor who wants to use the product obviously can use it, but we're specifically targeting adjuncts at this stage because they're the ones who really want our product. And so we have two versions. We have ClassPulse, which is just it's just a mobile app that allows students to gather to share feedback and for professors to share polls and that kind of thing. And that is completely free. The idea is that we want to scale as quickly as possible because the more analytics we have, the more robust our database and the more valuable we are as a company, obviously. But at the same time, we also offer a premium version that is basically a dashboard where we summarize all the analytics and make it really easy for professors to analyze that feedback once the semester is over. And that's what we're charging adjuncts at this stage $50 for. So right now we're targeting adjuncts. We do see in the future ourselves charging enterprises as a whole. But since the sales cycle is really slow with the enterprise model, it's a lot easier to sell to an enterprise if you already have your foot in the door and you already have customers.
And a second question, who wrote the code?
Yeah, so I did the UX and the UI, so like more of the front end, and then there was this guy, Neil Shah, who's Georgetown alum as well, actually, and he did all the back end and all the hardcore work. And he's actually also, he also has a lot of experience in education because he was a product manager at Everfi. Everfi is one of the most successful ed tech companies. I'm sure you guys know about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you, what's the reaction of the schools been?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It kind of varies from school to school. We have had a lot of support from administration because they're really the first ones who are having a hard time with this problem. They're using course evaluations because it's really easy for them to see, oh, well, this professor is a 5, this professor is a 3, but like in reality, everyone knows that it's a flawed system, and them more than anyone are really looking for a solution to this problem. So.
When you say you're going to sell to the enterprise, is it the university, the enterprise?
Yeah, so yeah, it is the university. So it can be either a provost or a dean or a trustee. Yeah.
What's to stop the companies that are selling the current course evaluation software to the universities from copying this model and just doing an ongoing course evaluation program like this during the semester?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think our leg up over these other evaluation softwares is that because we're a startup, we can move more quickly. You know, a big company, any decision takes a long time, a lot of meetings. We are scaling very quickly, and we think that if we can scale quickly enough, then we will have a way more robust database, we'll have historical data on the feedback, and we will become a benchmark for feedback before they can copy us. So a threat such as, you know, a Canvas or one of those big LMSs entering the market could actually become a potential acquisition opportunity. Yeah.
How much money do you need for further development?
For the dashboard, we need $30,000. Yeah.
And then, as an introduction,
yeah.
So I'm the co-founder. My name is Carolina. Prior to this, I was working at Bloomberg, where I was a relationship manager for university sales. To answer that question, we need $30,000 right now to be able to sort of bootstrap our cash flows and sustain ourselves. We do see in the future this going towards LMS integration, so being able to be encompassed into Blackboard or Canvas, that will, you know, obviously require more funding in the future. It is important that we are able to scale really fast. If you think of products like Piazza, they scaled way faster and then did all the LMS integration a couple of years into that.
Have you had any conversations with companies like Blackboard about this?
Interfolio.
So, yeah, well, I'm actually working right now out of Interfolio's office in DC. So they're, for those of you who don't know it, they're kind of trying to be the dominant player in the all-university backend. And yeah, so they've been providing a lot of help, and they're actually one of our advisors. We haven't talked to an LMS, so learning management systems, quite yet, but we're definitely going to look into it, yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have CUSP 365.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline DiGregorio, and I'm here today pitching for my startup, Cuss 365. I want to thank the Leonsis family for giving me this opportunity tonight. My journey begins senior year of high school when I was accepted to my dream school, Georgetown University. I came to this campus glowing with excitement for what was to come over the next 4 years. Unfortunately, my freshman year didn't go quite as planned. The pressure of challenging courses, adapting to a new environment, and living a healthy lifestyle were unmanageable. And I hit rock bottom. I felt depressed, and I had no confidence. This led to weight gain, which led to even lower confidence. The girl who sat in the front row of every single class wasn't even raising her hand anymore. But it turns out that I wasn't alone. There are 11.5 million women in college in the United States today. And according to research performed by the American College Health Association, 92% of them reported feeling overwhelmed in the past year. After struggling to find a solution, I created what would later become known as the Cuss Method. For me, I struggled, and I knew that I had to start talking about this because I found something that worked for me. So I went out and I talked about it to a lot of people, 6,000 to be exact. I spoke to 6,000 women at college campuses across the United States about these issues. And not only did my struggle resonate with them, but so did my solution. This inspired me to publish the Cuss Method, which became an Amazon bestseller and a #1 new release in its category. After speaking with these women, I found that in order to really thrive in college and build that confidence, women need 3 things: quick, easy meals, convenient workouts, and a realistic approach to wellness. These women wanted a platform for these things. So I took it to Kickstarter to see if there was really a demand. I raised $20,000. My following has been growing incredibly quickly. I have 3,600 followers on Instagram with a growth rate of 260% in the past 4 months. I'm asking for $20,000. I need $10,000 to finish the Cuss app. It's currently in its final stages of development, and I have 330 women in college signed up to beta test. I need an additional $10,000 to launch the app. In the United States today, more women graduate college than men, yet only 4% of Fortune 500 companies are led by women. If we want to truly impact societal change, we need to teach these women to be confident before they enter the workplace. While this issue impacts 11.5 million women nationwide, 900 of them are entering Georgetown's campus this fall. It is so important to me to get this app out there so that these women have a tool to deal with what statistically so many of them will be struggling with. I truly appreciate any support for this endeavor. I now open the floor for questions.
Have you met Michelle and Jen?
So, Jacqueline, the money you're requesting is to build the app.
So $10,000 of it is to finish the app. So could you forward the next? Yeah, that one. Thank you.
Okay.
So I netted $14,700 for my Kickstarter after the fees and fulfilling my rewards. The app itself is costing me $24,700 with the development, the workouts, the videos, all those things. And then the additional $10,000 is to really launch it with new website development, marketing administration, trying to scale, etc.
So it would be getting the word out to college freshman women to use this interactive app, and take us through a little bit of how you see this helping women on campus.
Sure. So how I see it helping is that, I've spoken at 62 colleges and universities. That's how I spoke to those 6,000 women. I actually spoke to 6,200 to be exact, about groups of 100 women at once. And I asked them, what is so challenging for you at this campus to thrive? Do you feel confident? And of course, in the beginning, people are nervous to talk about things. They feel like I'm this authority figure. Yet, I'm someone who is just sitting in their shoes, feeling the struggle. And as they start to open up, I find that, they don't have this confidence because they don't know how to manage anything. And, their healthy lifestyle is a big part of it. It's the way you feel on a daily basis. And a lot of it is your mental health and your wellness and being able to just approach this brand new situation. So the app really just gives them tools to manage those things. And, when I tell them about it, they just can't wait for it to come out. So I have so much confidence. I receive, dozens of messages every time I speak saying like, wow, I never even thought of it that way. And I never felt like there was something out there for me as a girl in college. And my main way to reach them is really through Instagram. I've had an incredible effect. I call it the buzz effect on one campus. What happens is I speak at a sorority or, group of women, and, they go back and they follow me on Instagram and they tell their roommate. Then what happens is in the next couple days, I post a photo, and it gets a bunch of likes on that campus from a bunch of women. And then Instagram puts it on the popular page or the recommended feed because they see 50 of your friends liked my photo. And then you say, hey, Jenny, who's Cuss Method? Oh my gosh, this awesome girl who's promoting, college health and confidence. And then Jenny follows me. And then a week later, I have 500 followers at Villanova. And then I'm on to the next school. So it's a pretty incredible effect. And just by seeing that, just from what I'm posting on social media, I know the app will really make a difference in their lives.
So talk about the money side. I mean, first, congrats on taking a challenge and turning it into something so powerful and great. But talk about the money side. Is this all direct to consumer? Is there an enterprise version of this you envision? Talk about where you imagine and where could you get this? If you had endless funding, where would it be 3 years from now in terms of revenue?
Great. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So I base my financial model on direct to consumer. I base it on a 24% conversion rate of my follower, or 24% follower growth rate, which again is low because I've been growing at 240%. And I did the conversion rate of 5%, which is based on the industry standard for fitness type of apps. So with that model, I'm charging $4.99 a month subscription based. I spoke to the women about what they'd be willing to pay and what features the app would need for them to pay. And that's how I came down to these features and this specific price point. So at the end of year 2, it's at almost $600,000. But really, that is a very, very conservative model because my goal is to take it on an enterprise level. I want to work with Georgetown. I want every girl entering this campus to have access to this app. It's a part of their tuition. And I will sell it, in bulk at a discount rate to Georgetown. I will, work with colleges across the country to bring this to reality and be a tool that they can use and that they know they have access to. I would love to go speak to the college and speak to the women at their freshman orientation and tell them about the app so they know how to actually use it, and it's really there, a tool for them, not just something the college is giving them in bulk. So that's how I see it impacting. Every woman has access to it who is a student in the United States.
First of all, just congratulations on sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
That takes a lot of courage. And congratulations on not missing a beat when she was fixing your mic. That was equally as impressive, actually. So well done there. That was great. On the $5 a month, how many apps actually get $5 a month?
So can you go to the next slide, the competitor slide? So it turns out that my competitors charge $19.99 a month and $12.99 a month. So most of the fitness and nutrition and wellness apps are subscription-based now. It's where the model's going. And I'm looking at these girls in college at Georgetown. I see them at the gym. I know they are doing Sweat with Kayla workout. I know what the workout looks like. I'm like, wow, that girl's paying $20 a month for that app. That's a lot of money. Maybe her parents are paying it. Who knows? But the average college student can't afford that. So I want something that's accessible to anyone. I want it to be accessible to me when I was in college. And that $20 a month just wouldn't be. So in this industry, I do think that the apps, they are paying that, and they're paying a lot more. So another, point of advantage would be just the price point in general, although it's not where I'm trying to compete.
Great.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Please welcome to the stage Edible Finance.
Hi, I'm Sunny. I'm a data scientist at Capital One. For the past 7 years, I've been helping my friends and family with their personal finances and investments.
And I'm Chris, and I have 6 years of institutional investment consulting at Cambridge Associates under my belt. So I know how to be a steward of other people's money. Sunny and I came together in an MBA class this summer with Eric Koster, who continues to be a mentor today. We're Edible Finance, and we make investing bite-sized.
Chris and I absolutely hate the fact that our friends and family squander their money and don't let it work for them. Did you know that 70% of millennials are afraid of the term investing? Next slide, please. This stems from millennials' lack of skill, will, and time when it comes to investing beyond their retirement. This is where Edible Finance comes in. Next slide. Edible Finance is 1 to 5 minute videos delivered via an app to our users. Our users are then prompted for actions which range from either opening their very first brokerage account or to talking to their very first financial advisor and anything in between. Next slide, please. This past summer, 92% of our users purchased their very first stock in our initial tests. In a follow-up test, we were able to convert 100% of our users to open up their very first brokerage account at Robinhood for those that didn't have brokerage accounts prior.
what Sonny just described is pictured here. Our lessons are tied to actions, which then are tied to partners. It's important to note we're not a $4.99 download at the App Store. Our revenue generation comes through partnerships with companies like Capital One, Bank of America, and Fidelity. Next slide, please. We're here for 2 reasons. Our first ask is $30,000, which will help us get launched, and the majority will go to early stage development. Initially, we don't think this is enough to build a full app, but we'd like to start building the back end and automate our services. Our second ask is to the audience. Are there any financial service professionals, developers, or potential customers that want to try Edible Finance? Come and see us. Next slide. Those 2 asks will help us achieve our goals of 500 plus users, where we can nail down customer acquisition costs and test our conversion rates beyond just friends and family. We'll also be able to streamline and automate our current manual processes and win our first partnership. Thank you, everyone. We're Edible Finance, and we make investing bite-sized.
So is this a lead gen business? You'll take young people and then you'll sell the lead to Capital One or Fidelity, and they'll pay you when an account gets opened?
Correct. It could be something like a brokerage account with E-Trade or, TD Ameritrade. It could be investing in a new type of investment, maybe Vanguard, real asset funds or something. Mutual fund providers could use us. Brokerages. Down the road, we'd like to incorporate, more personal finance-oriented things as well. Right now, we're focusing on investing, and our model is similar to Credit Karma. They do lead generation for credit cards and reviews and kind of do questionnaires to see which card fits you best. They have no user fees, and they generated $500 million in revenue in 2016. So that's really what we're hoping to achieve with the model.
So in order to make this a real business and get all these leads going, you're going to need to scale the product quickly and have a large user base. How do you plan to do that with only $30,000?
Sure. We have been using pretty much just free online tools now. Our early stage developer would help us automate all of those processes and tie together data analytics. So we could use a lot of off-the-shelf stuff and kind of integrate it together and take care of a number of admin expenses in terms of setting up our company and doing early outreach, Facebook ads, social media, that type of thing. Sonny, do you have anything?
Yeah, and once we scale that, then we really want to make sure our users love the product because we can't just go to our partners and be like, hey, we have these users, but they're dropping off like flies, right? So we really want to make sure that the content is being understood. We're getting those conversion rates and stuff like that. So that's why the 30,000 will help us to get to that stage where we can verify those conversion rates, see what it costs to acquire those users, and then move forward to our partnerships.
Yeah, we want people who love our product because they're our best advocates at the end of the day. And, doing that is it's really important to our model to be organic. And those 1 to 5 minute videos make that a lot easier. They can watch videos and learn about finance on their bus ride home, when they have 5 minutes waiting for a meeting to start. And so that's really what differentiates us from a lot of the companies and products that are out there now.
So what's your core technology? Is it the videos? And it seems like you're doing a lot of things, right? You're trying to do the videos and you're trying to acquire these customers to keep them yourselves. Are you doing, tell me the different pieces of the tech, and have you thought about maybe taking one piece of that and winning and then partnering with these others to do the investing, for example?
Right, so the core offering is our videos. Right. With the videos, we provide those simple, easy-to-use, bite-sized pieces of information that'll get users to take that next step. So that's really our core, right? What we're looking to do is acquire the users to test that core and make sure it works, right? To make sure that those users are, at the end of the day, taking those actions to convert to the partners to bring in the revenue for the company.
Yeah, we're a content company. We're using our own personal knowledge of investments and finance to build out those videos and make them fun and entertaining. And we've really been doing that with our pilot phase, which is still ongoing, actually. And we've gotten great feedback from users and continue to incorporate that as we go. And people have really been loving it.
So I'm getting a little sense from you guys that the $30,000 that this prize isn't really the right number, that it's not quite enough for you guys if you need it. What is the right number at this stage?
So at this stage, we're very early on right now, where we've done a prototype and a pilot test, right? So we've came to the 30,000 number that we showed in the funnel because we looked at what our early development costs were, some of the costs that Chris had mentioned. On the shelf product, right? Right now, that's something that we're going to take time to determine, and once we do that, we'll be able to get back.
And if you guys don't win this, were you going to keep trying to build this business?
Yes.
And to build on what Sonia said, we tried to nail down an app development cost number, but it ranges from $20,000 to a couple $100,000, and we really need to help prove our concept more before we can get the next stage of investment money to build that, and that's why we're here. We're early.
And to piggyback off of that, so we have had high-level conversations with high-level executives at Capital One, Bank of America, and Fidelity, and they have shown a lot of interest in that. I've given them my conversion numbers. Chris and I have sat them down, talked them through what we're doing, and they have shown the interest because their internals don't let them do that.
And this is a real pain point for the financial sector.
All right, thank you.
I got this.
Please welcome to the stage, Foobly.
My name is Melissa Antel. I'm a public health nutritionist and currently an evening program student. My co-founder is Maria Rivera. She is a mom and a pediatrician. Our double bottom line venture is called Foobly. Next slide. For the past 10 years, I've worked for organizations like the United Nations World Food Program with families in over 15 countries, helping them better feed their kids. Maria and I believe that nutrition is the foundation for every child's growth. We were shocked to learn that there's no go-to resource on pediatric nutrition for families in the States. Next slide. We met Liz through our customer discovery. She's a mom, and her kid was just diagnosed with a milk protein allergy. That means Liz has to eliminate all soy and dairy from her diet. She goes home, and she feels stuck. She buys the books, she joins the Facebook mom groups, but nothing fits her. Nothing's personalized. It takes her weeks to get up to speed, and she doesn't know what's credible. Next. We've met over 100 families just like Liz that have questions on pediatric nutrition. Lauren's family needs help with a picky eater. Lucy has problems with the grocery store aisle, and Parth wants to know the best way to introduce first foods. There are 70 million families with kids, 70 million children in the US that could benefit from Foobly. Next slide. So how does it work? Liz gets home from the doctor, she fills out a profile. We match her with a team of experts based on her needs. And then within hours, she receives a personalized plan. If she has questions, she can ask on demand via chat or video a nutrition expert. We're testing 4 ways to monetize Foobly: memberships, access to experts, experts using our platform, and partnerships. In the last 2 months, without spending any money, we've added 200 families to our wait list. We have MVP testers line up, and we have 25 nutrition experts who've signed up. Some are nationally recognized. In the next 6 months, we have a plan to test the assumptions in our business model. We know that $30,000 can help catalyze our learning. Next. Foobly is the helping hand that every child, every parent needs now. Maria and I are here to revolutionize the field of pediatric nutrition. Thank you. Maria, come on up.
How are you thinking about the business pricing strategy and sort of the revenue side of the business?
Sure. Can we get one more slide up? One more. So what we're thinking, and we need to do some testing on this, is that there will be a free base. So when you sign up, you give us your email address and you can access some free resources. We're estimating about 90% of our users will access those free resources. Then the 10% who need an extra helping hand, we offer different service packages to them, and we want to start at $39.99. So that would be for a personalized plan. We're testing our ratio between the provider and parents, which will help further refine kind of how we're structuring our revenue. And then another component is this on-demand access, which is linking those parents directly to an expert. Some experts will, like Maria, who is a pediatrician, will cost more than an expert like a dietitian. So we're trying to really nail that down in the next 6 months.
And just to add to that, so our goal is to be basically a freemium model. So a parent can come on our website and they can start creating a food profile where they can tell us about what their likes, their dislikes are, where they like to shop, etc. And then they can access small, that we're calling deep dives, so small literature reviews that are really evidence-based, answering common questions such as, what is the best food pouch that I can buy? Does my child really need to start cow's milk when they turn 1? What is baby-led weaning, and what is the evidence behind baby-led weaning? And so those things will be free for the parents. And then, but if you want the true personalized support, so if you want access to a nutritionist and you don't want to wait 6 months to get into a nutritionist, if you are wanting just to, if you feel like, oh yeah, I don't want to call my doctor, this question's kind of silly, they could come to us and ask us that question. So the two parts of the parts that our customers would pay for are, one, personalized plans, and the second is if they just want, where they would get an actual plan that's an actual document that will include feeding strategies tailored to the specific situation, meal plans, recipes, etc. Or they could just do a little bit more of a traditional model where they would just ask a question and they would have an expert that will answer that question on demand.
I may have missed this. Is this an app or a website?
We hope in the future to have an app, but for now it's a website.
And then how would you address, I guess in my mind, and this may not be correct, but when I think of nutrition, I normally think that, that the folks that are challenging or having the most challenges with nutrition and pediatrics are lower income. And so those folks necessarily wouldn't be able to pay for something like this. And so have you thought about the social piece of this and how that would work?
Yeah, so that's driving why we're up here.
Right.
We realize that we need to start with the paying customers, but we're working with partnerships with Maria's clinic at Johns Hopkins, which does serve the underserved populations. Mm-hmm. We want to do a one-to-one model eventually, but we were pretty shocked at how everyone seems to have a question and a problem around child feeding, and it changes every week because the child grows, different foods are in season, different fads kind of come in the news. So we feel like it can be a service for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're hoping to get. So both Melissa and I have, so Melissa has a lot of international experience. I also did. I grew up in Honduras, and all my patients have always been underserved. And so we've approached, I approached my clinic, for example, where we have patients that are, we even take patients that are uninsured to see if we can first trial our services there, but also find a way to partner up so that we can have some paying customers, but we can also have some customers that, like you said, are the ones that need it the most, where the pediatric obesity rates are the highest, where they access WIC and maybe don't know how to manage what they get in their WIC package and things like that. So our goal is to reach everyone, and yeah.
Someone mentioned EverFi before. I mean, this is a perfect extension for them, where they can do good but get sponsors who want to bring that out. We're a large investor in a company called Revolution Foods, founded by angry mothers who said, "Why are you poisoning our children with school lunches?"
Right.
And it's a big market, and you're onto something. How you turn it into a real business. Right. But Mark, you just had a baby, right? You know, like what's in the pecking order of life right now? Is there anything more important than your
No,
son?
it is a top priority. But I agree with you. First of all, I've just learned that the one person who go over the time limit is the person who funds this whole thing. So congratulations, Dad. Which is how it should be, by the way. But no, I commend you guys for focusing on this. And actually, Ted, I think, coined the phrase double bottom line business. So it's a good audience to have. I think the challenge is what is the right business? And Michelle asked a good question. A lot of the need is with people who can't afford it. And so how do you match the service with the right people, with the right business model? And if I suggest you go back and think about something, it would be that.
Right. We're ready to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Galapagos strategy.
Thank you. Blue-footed boobies. Other than making you laugh when you say it, what does that bring to mind? Blue-footed boobies. They are one of the most unique and highly adaptive birds in the Galapagos Islands. They helped inspire Darwin's theory of evolution, and they inspire Rachel and I to found Galapagos Strategy. As patent lawyers with an engineering degree from UVA and a computer science degree from Carnegie Mellon, we are uniquely suited to see the issues in the patent field. Rachel and I have worked together for 10 years at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, at top-tier law firms, at Hewlett-Packard, and at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. And throughout our careers, we've seen companies lose millions of dollars or even go out of business because they don't have the right patents. Take your iPhone, for example. Did you know that the iPhone has technology from lots of other companies, like batteries? Apple licenses battery technology from a battery company. Apple and the battery company enter into negotiations to use each other's technology. And that battery company better make sure it has strategic patents to bring to the negotiation table. Patents that not just cover technology, but also consider industry, geography, future use, so they don't get shortchanged or even possibly lose the deal. So how do companies deal with this? Well, they throw tons of people and tons of money at the problem, but they act on inaccurate or incomplete information. We figured out how to solve this problem by disrupting the patent industry with data analytics. Our proprietary patent analytics platform considers how your company plays in your market relative to your customers, your competitors, and your collaborators. It considers your current and your future business strategy, and it determines what technology you should be protecting to have your optimal war chest of patents. Galapagos Strategy has a better, faster, cheaper way to strategically build your patent war chest and make sure you get your due when other companies use your technology. In terms of market size, we have a $126 million recurring revenue opportunity each year. That includes companies that file at least 10 patents each year, as well as startups that receive funding in a given year. And for the Leonsis Prize, we ask for $37,000, and that's for research subscriptions to strengthen the data foundation of our patent analytics platform. Like our blue-footed booby, we hope to inspire and protect entrepreneurs, like our colleagues who are pitching today, to protect innovations that create jobs and grow economies. Our platform saves them money and increases the value of the hard work that they put in. Thank you.
Awesome, Ramya. We're now ready to take questions.
So we invested in a company that has a lot of patents, nearly 50. And it was a driving reason for why we invested in it. I think one of the reasons why we trusted the patents is because they had a big legal force behind them and experience in patent law. How do you guys brand yourselves as a reliable sort of legal force as opposed to hiring a law firm to do this for you?
Sure. I mean, well, one, we've been part of the major law firms. We've been in-house counsel for Fortune 50 tech companies. I think we have the expertise in patent law to understand what's necessary to have a quality patent. But I think what we do beyond what the law firm does is we look at how you play in your market. I think Rachel has a great example for that.
So when I was a law firm, it's a very reactive process, right? So we receive invention disclosures from the startups or enterprise companies, and then we draft patent applications, and it's a less incentive to reject that invention and there's no time and resources to do this type of market analysis for the inventions that they create. So very reactive process, and then we want to bring the data analytics to do proactive research before getting those patents in hand. And also, one example that I want to share with you is when I was at the law firm, we had this client who has this very old patent that he really wanted to monetize and also build a business out of it. But it didn't go anywhere. So he had this old patent. The patent was about this step counter that kind of gives you coupon code when you reach a certain activity level. And then it didn't go anywhere. He came to us. How does he can kind of leverage his patent to make money out of it? And what we did is we did market research, and it was very unconventional at the time. We did market research, and then we looked at Fitbit, Nike, and all at the time there's all this activity counters and the trackers are coming into the market. And what we did is we drafted patent claims based on this original patent and filed a continuation patent finding support from his original patent and file it in view of the market that they play in. So he actually sold that patent to one of those companies I cannot disclose for over $1 million. So that's the type of work that we want to do. We want to create this market analysis and find the strategic assets that you could get, based on this information.
And ideally, by doing this, it's not just selling your patent to somebody, it's figuring out how you can actually grow your company in a way that makes sense strategically. If you are a startup and you're receiving funding, look at who your potential acquirers are. Look at what their infrastructure and their technology pipeline looks like. And make sure that, one, your technology fits in that, but also that your patent assets mirror that they consider that. And so when you are going for exit, when you are taking a look and having a patent portfolio analyzed, one, it's legit, and two, it's completely in line with what a potential acquirer in IPO might want.
One, I like your shirts a lot.
Thank you. We actually have shirts for you guys too.
Good.
So.
Oh,
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
All of you guys, but
yeah,
next time.
Secondly, when you think about this business, a lot of it sounds like something that requires your expertise. How do you turn it from a really sort of successful consulting business that uses data to one that is truly a SaaS product, if that's your intention, that can scale? So how are you thinking about that?
So very good question. So our first milestone, as you understood correctly, is to implement our patent analytics platform through a consulting practice for the first 6 months. While we learn, gather more data, and test our system or the intelligence behind it, and then build a SaaS tool based on that. So we just actually had already started the consulting practice portion. So we had this client in the network optimization space who's actually probably in the room today.
Yeah, he's
Hi, Dave, if you're in the room.
Hey, hi,
hey, Dave. For Dave's company, we perform market analysis to look at various industries, so including SD-WAN, SecCom, and mobile carriers, among others. And for each of these industries, we looked at where their products are made and sold, their industry TAM, and also regional market sizes to determine what is the right global filing patent strategy and plan and budget for them. And with this, we use this information. And at the end, we provide recommended a set of patents that are targeted to the market space that they're playing in terms of their collaborators, competitors, and customers. And the end goal is our larger vision is to transform this intelligence we gather and hone through our consulting practice and bring that into the data analytics engine of our SaaS tool.
So you're doing revenues now? Is this a business now?
We are pre-revenue now, but we are actively acquiring clients. We're actually going out to Silicon Valley in the Bay Area next week to talk to a couple of venture capital firms, portfolio companies, and just doing a ton of client acquisition. And hopefully we will not be pre-revenue much longer. So.
And is there a product stood up that's...
The consulting product is
the consulting
but
services.
not the SaaS tool.
SaaS.
So at the same time, we're fundraising for the tool as well.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Next up, please welcome Hatch to the stage.
Good evening. I am JP Coakley.
And I'm Kelsey Lenz. We're the co-founders of Hatch, a company that merges childcare and co-working. Last year, JP and I both became new parents as well and discovered that childcare is extraordinarily expensive, not to mention in critically short supply. My 7-month-old just started daycare after 14 months on a wait list. In the face of what's a national childcare issue, parents are quitting their jobs. Women are leaving the workforce. And this is creating a talent drain, stagnating their careers, and actually limiting leadership potential. Childcares today are inflexible and extraordinarily expensive at $20,000 a year, leaving a large and growing segment of the population, particularly those within the shared economy, without access to childcare that actually fits their professional schedules. We've met with about 200 parents in this community, those who are working from home while trying to accommodate their professional and parental demands, just to understand this problem. And what we've discovered is that they're cobbling together a mixture of babysitters, using their families, they're working from home at night. It's expensive, it's less productive, and frankly, it's unsustainable. Hatch solves this problem. We're a brick and mortar space that co-locates co-working with full-time and part-time licensed childcare. We get parents back into the workforce while eliminating the commute and making sure we foster the parent-child relationship. We bring lactation consultants, sleep training consultants, business consultants, all under one roof into a one-stop shop. We're a community of working parents.
This opportunity is huge. In DC alone, we're looking at a $345 million market. Childcare facilities here have capacities beyond recognition. There are lines at the door and wait lists are huge. We have a wait list of over 70 people that have signed up specifically via word of mouth. There's been zero advertising dollars. Kelsey and I are the perfect pair coming from this school to start this company. She's an architect. She's a master's in architecture specializing in workplace design. I spent the last 5 years as a nuclear auditor in a highly regulated industry like childcare. We're both parents and have freelanced. We are our own customers. We've also surrounded ourselves with industry professionals from a real estate group recommended by Georgetown, a law firm. Our architecture firm specializes in childcare workplaces. Our advisory board includes professionals in co-working and childcare, including the president of WeWork. So where do we stand today? This is the building we've selected as our first location in Washington, D.C. We secured this with debt and equity, and we have all the paperwork in place to house over 150 people, including 150 people, including 30 full-time jobs.
So let's redefine working parent today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of companies going after the co-working space. I'm interested in this facility of here, how much space you have, but also why you decide to do that rather than go to a WeWork or all the ones that are doing this and say, why don't we partner with you and provide the daycare in a space next to your facility?
Sure, it's a great question, and the co-working side is definitely the saturated side of the market. The childcare is not. So there are a couple answers to that question. First, if you look at the back end of our business, we're about 3/4 of our business is actually childcare and 1/4 is co-working. What the customers see is equal parts. That's not true for kind of the business model. For example, in this location, we're looking at about 12,000 square feet, and only 3,500 of that is actually dedicated to co-working. And one of the primary reasons that we aren't looking at, we thought about doing a kind of joint venture agreement, but the childcare is actually the more difficult side of it to get up and running, which means that's the regulated side. And the co-working for us is really just pure profit. So if we actually bring that in-house, it's a much more sustainable and much more profitable business model than if we do a joint venture.
Okay.
What's the pricing?
We're industry standard. Childcare these days in DC, it's very high. It's about $2,000 a month. Co-working, we offer discounts to people who procure both childcare and co-working. Standard is between $300 to $600 depending on where you're looking.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is this is kind of a big part of what our discovery and research has been. The market that we're going after, which are parents, those tend to be people who have actually left co-working spaces, who were using them previously. And we've had a lot of conversations with WeWork, with Make Offices, about who their target demographic is, and their demographic, their market is a very different market. So we're actually going after customers that they don't currently have in their doors.
So when you, in this facility, when you're sort of at a stabilized economics, what does it look like? What are the revenues and what's the...
It's about $2.3 million a year. Our cash flows post-rent abatement are about $400,000 a year, which we plan on rolling back into the company to scale organically for the second interlocation here in DC. If you go to the next slide, so it takes $40,000 to secure a letter of credit to open this facility.
Got it.
The cash flows are skewed when you include rent abatement, which is free rent. Landlords give free rent. We plan to open 3 facilities here and then go Series A. Good. Next slide. And one more slide.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The last presentation of the night is going to be done by Coral Health.
Hi, I'm Shivam. And I'm Rainier. This time last year, one of our close mutual friends found himself in significant pain. It wasn't the pain of a broken arm or a sprained ankle. It was mental pain, the pain of not knowing whether things were worth it anymore. This is our friend who could turn a boring conversation into an absurd game of Would You Rather, who always had a snarky comeback ready. He opened up to us about how difficult things had become, and we were shocked at how hard it was for him to get the care he needed. We wanted to know why. We spent the following months interviewing 25 college counseling directors from around the country, even more therapists, and surveying 100 students. We learned that students face significant obstacles getting the care they need, including distance, time, and stigma. With that in mind, currently 40% of college students from around the country face mental health issues like depression and anxiety. That's 8 million college students. To address this gap in care, we created Coral Health.
Coral Health expands mental health care access on college campuses through an integrated video chat platform. We make finding and seeing a therapist simpler. Students can fill out their preferences, get matched with therapists accordingly, and do their sessions online, all in one platform. We plan to charge a small per-session fee and grow into a B2B model universities to better reach students.
Those who seek mental health care fall on a spectrum from mild to severe. Our competitors like BetterHelp and Talkspace serve the mild end primarily through text therapy. On the severe end is in-person care. The middle of the spectrum, the type of user who gets referred to off-campus therapy, is a good candidate for video chat. That population is still currently underserved, and we meet that need.
Now, to reach this population, we plan to encourage word-of-mouth recommendations from students by partnering with campus organizations like Project Lighthouse and Active Minds. Another distribution channel that's going to be important for Coral is college counseling centers. In a given year, centers refer around 1.2 to 2 million students to off-campus care. Here at Georgetown, we've already spoken to the director of the College Counseling Center to get Coral on the referral list.
A little more about us. I graduated from Georgetown in May with a degree in political economy and left consulting in November to work on Coral full-time.
And I graduated last month with a degree combining operations, information management, and computer science, and I'm also pursuing Coral full-time.
$28,000 would cover our costs for the coming year, with $7.5 for tech, $15.5 for legal and insurance, and $5 to kick off customer acquisition. The impact? We already have students and therapists for a closed beta and one university that's ready to test our platform. We would be able to launch that platform, do $10,000 in revenue, and complete 600 sessions with your support.
Our friend eventually found care, but there are millions out there who have the same problems and don't. Coral Health will allow students to get the care they need with the ease they deserve to lead more fulfilling lives. Thank you.
Big responsibility.
It is.
Whenever I think healthcare, I think of a lot of regulations, complicated stuff that I have no idea about. And I notice you put most of your funds towards legal. Is that the reason why? And what are the big regulatory hurdles that you guys worry about?
Yeah, great question. So as you correctly identified, it's in a highly regulated industry, so a lot of that goes toward healthcare compliance, particularly HIPAA, and making sure that we're doing this the right way, especially with regard to protecting confidential health information.
How at risk is your business if there are changes to health regulation?
The current HIPAA regulations have been in place for several years, and so the data protection standards are very high. And so we don't see the regulatory environment around the level of protection around the health data changing, because that needs to remain protected. The regulatory change that will come is actually increasing the uptake of telehealth, so reducing jurisdictional restrictions on practicing telemedicine across state lines. So the regulatory changes that would come in our industry would actually be in our favor.
So a couple questions. We've looked at a lot of video telemedicine companies, and a lot of them have failed. So I'm curious, when you look at those that have tried this, what are you doing that's different, number one? And number two, how hard would it be to get health insurance to cover what you're doing both on the private and public side, since obviously that's key?
I mean, one important thing that we're trying to do is making sure that we establish relationships with both campus organizations and college counseling centers. I think that that's one of the things that a lot of companies don't do. Like, we want to actually engage with the students, engage with the centers to really know and feel what they're trying, like what they need.
And in terms of the second part of that question, is this covered by health insurance? The telehealth parity laws actually ensure that for the same care that's given in person, it actually must be reimbursed at the same rate via video chat. And that's in DC, and that law exists in many other countries around the US. Last time we checked, it was 23.
Thanks.
So
if someone's really in need, is it, I won't talk to you unless you give me your credit card? I mean, how's the caregiver dealing with, like, the emergency situation?
So to that, I would give the answer that the therapist we've spoken to give. And that's that part of this is about the agency of the client. And so when they come in, the therapist wants to see that they're making the effort and that they're in a place where they're ready to take control over their mental health. And so with that, part of the important thing that therapists actually say is that the clients have the means and are able to really have the willingness to make the financial step, because oftentimes that comes in tandem with making the emotional step. Does that answer your question?
So just, first of all, you should be commended on being inspired by your friend's troubles to start a business, and so many of the people today for starting things that have a real mission and double bottom line. It's really awesome. The school should be congratulated for inspiring students to. So it's really inspiring for us to sit here. In terms of the providers, are you thinking about them being freelancers? Or are you thinking about having them on staff? How are you thinking of employing the people who are providing the service?
So currently, right now, they won't be employees of Coral Health. It's going to be more of a contractual, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Referral-based, like? A referral?
Yes, exactly. Pretty much what we're doing right now is we're looking through different therapists who have specialties in depression, anxiety, working with college students, and that's pretty much what we're trying to do. We want to get therapists who believe in our mission and believe in what we want to create.
But if it's on demand, if someone needs someone urgently.
Oh, yeah.
and
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a great question. So right now, if you looked at the types of people trying to get care, we're not targeting severe cases. For severe cases, online therapy is not appropriate, and they're not appropriate. What we're trying to do is target mild cases where their mental depression difficulty kind of lingers, and they decide, maybe because of stigma, distance, time, and barriers, that they don't want help. What we're trying to do is provide them with that help, providing them with accessible help so they can get through those problems so that it doesn't linger and grow down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can we get one last round of applause for all of the 8 pitching teams? Awesome. Okay, so as I remind you guys at the beginning of this night, it is now the People's Choice Awards program. So if all of you guys could pull out your cell phones, the only time I'm going to ask you to do that, please participate. So it's going to be a 2-step process. First, you're going to text Startup Hoyas to 22333. And then once you receive confirmation, you're going to vote by texting the corresponding number. So Campus Sherpa is 1, Class Pulse is 2, Cusp 365 is 3, Edible Finance is 4, Foobly is 5, Galapagos Strategy is 6, Hatch is 7, and Coral Health is 8. And as you can tell, it's pretty cool because it's going to live tell you who is winning. And on top of the Leonsis Prize, the People's Choice Award will get an additional $5,000 to help start their venture. Voting is going to be open for a few minutes, so please continue to enter. And in that time, I'm really proud and excited to invite Dean Paul Almeida, who is the Dean of the McDonough School of Business, to the stage to make some special announcements and remarks.
My rating.
I'm not quite sure how I'm going to compete with this. You know? I feel I'm on American Idol or something. Please vote for me, number 9. So just want to say a few words. Apparently, I'm supposed to say a few words, so I give them time to tally up the votes. But firstly, wow, those presentations were great. And I just want to echo something Mark said. If you notice, nearly all of them use technology in some way to address a social issue. And I think that is so Georgetown, doing well by doing good. And I encourage you all to keep in that direction. So again, let's give them all a hand. Thank you all so much. Congratulations. I also wanted to thank our president, Jack DeJoya, for being here. I know your time is valuable, but I know these are proud moments for you to see your very own students come up with wonderful ideas. So thank you again. And thank you, all the judges. I hope you have lots of money to give out. I was adding, the total request came to $257,000. So. But more seriously, entrepreneurship is something after my own heart. Years ago, I think it was about 15 years ago, I started a business pitch competition for the MBA program. The moment I moved, they shut it down, so I'm not sure how well I ran it. But I think entrepreneurship is going to be more and more important, whether you want to really be an entrepreneur, whether you want to join a startup, or if you want to make a difference in a bigger firm. There's little doubt to my mind that as technology changes and moves the possibilities, there's little doubt that there are going to be immense opportunities to be a successful entrepreneur. And we all need that mindset. We need those skills. We need those tools. We need the network. And we need that community. And so you're off to a great start, regardless of what happens here. You're off to a great start. Thank you for doing that. So like all good startups, we listen to our customers. And one of the first things I noticed, after taking over as dean was there was a need for more entrepreneurship. So we're taking several steps in this area. Entrepreneurship is going to be one of our priorities. As a first step, we're glad to announce that in fall 2018, we will launch our first entrepreneurship minor. So I really didn't do anything. I just hoped that it would happen. But the faculty embraced the idea. We will first launch it for business school students and later for all university students. Because I think everyone in the university, as evidenced by some of the college students here, can be great entrepreneurs. So this is where we intend to go. We're also going to do several other things, take several other steps. Entrepreneurship is a priority, and it is here to stay. And one of the reasons we managed to get the entrepreneurship minor through the various committees in the school was the strong support of the Entrepreneurship Advisory Council. And the leader of that council is our own Ted Leonsis. So thank you so much, Ted. So I'm going to ask Ted to come up and say a few words. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you. I'm very embarrassed. I started my first business on the campus at Georgetown. It wasn't that social responsibility double bottom line. It was a snow cone vending business to celebrate the bicentennial. Be a patriot, eat a snow cone. Still the business with the best profit margins of anything that I pursued. We introduced variable pricing. When the humidity factor was high and the temperature went up, the price of the snow cone also increased. It really is wonderful to watch the community rally around Startup Nation. I mean, our country is the world's greatest startup, and all of the jobs, all of the tax revenue, all of the GDP growth comes from entrepreneurs. It doesn't come from big companies. Big public companies shed jobs. They get driven by EBITDA. They're not about strategy. They're not about the new next thing. And so just watching everyone come up here and the passion that you've attacked these issues was really tremendous. And I think what Jack and what Paul are building gives us the opportunity to make Georgetown really stand for something atop of what it's always stood for, developing the whole person. And it's an honor to be a part of the journey. And we have the opportunity to be the East Coast Stanford. I mean, that would be something that we should want to become a destination for young people who want to not only be educated, but to have a higher calling and to bring goodness, bring doing the right thing the right way and starting a business. And so that we now have a formal way that students can come and get a minor. Next we'll work on it's a major. And it's terrific. And now what we should do is tally up the votes and see who gets the money. Thank you very much.